you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this virtual session on negotiations in the current times for entrepreneurs. We have with us Professor Samish Dalal, Associate Professor from SP Jain School of Global Management, who would speak to us on the subjects today. Without further ado, I request Mr. MSA Kumar, immediate past president of TiE Kerala, to introduce Professor Dalal and anchor the session also. Thank you.
Good evening, Professor Samish Dalal and participants of this webinar. It's a good honor for TiE Kerala to host this webinar on negotiations in the current times. Professor Samish Dalal is known to most of us, so I won't spend too much time on introducing him. He specializes in the field of negotiations, entrepreneurship, and innovation. He's associated with family business. I know Samish for a very long time. I have attended some of his classes, and more than a professor, I think he's a practitioner of many areas in family business. And he has been there many years and has taught more than 4,700 students of family business and has touched base with more than 750 Indian family business by way of consultancy. He has done his MBA from the University of Queensland, Australia, and has further enhanced his skills through two major executive education programs in Harvard Business School and Wharton Business School. So without much further explanation, the only thing when I prepared this webinar and talked to Samish this morning, his classes are absolutely firebrand classes. I mean, he has taken for our TiE charter member retreat in Alleppey, one half-a-day class. He just can't stand or sit quiet. But I asked Samish bhai, how are you going to do this? He says these are all new normals which we have to practice. So wish you all a good session. The format is like this. Next 35 to 40 minutes, Samish bhai will take us through the program, and then it will be I think the chat and Q&A are open, so you can put in your questions, and I will moderate the questions. So over to Samish.
Thank you, Kumar Sahib. Thank you very much. Good evening, guys. I'm sure whatever Kumar Sahib has said is part of a lot of sheer friendship and the time that I've enjoyed with him. It's been wonderful being part of him and associated with him over last, I think, 2 years plus, I suppose. We did successfully the OMP program at Kochi, and then we also did one event at Calicut also very recently. I guess just before the lockdown began, you can say that way. Because I think that was in the month of February only that we did it. And then this from 10th of March, technically it was a closed down period. Okay. But anyways, guys, so let's get on with the things that we were supposed to talk today. And rather than me talking about purely on how we are going to make sure that this is a lockdown period and how we're going to negotiate, let me tell you something more beyond that, so that when you can get on to this topic, it becomes easy. First thing, guys, there's one thing very clear, and let's understand all of it. This is, as Kumar Sahib rightly pointed out, the new normal. Actually, honestly speaking, difficult hai. It has been a challenging time, but to understand that this is something that we all have to live with has to become our normal, acceptable thing. I mean, today you will find more people with the mask and gloves and people having a distancing, and that's perfectly normal. Accept it. Very recently, I came back from the market because morning 9 to 11 it is allowed to open. So I wanted to buy some grocery and I went out and then came back. And the moment I was coming back, my wife from the gate itself said, "Don't come in, don't come in." I said, "Okay, whatever. Don't wait there. When you come in, you're supposed to go straight to the washroom. Whatever you're wearing, along with it, go into the washroom. Must get yourself cleaned and this and that." I said, "Okay, Corona is not waiting for me." But she would want me to get cleaned, sanitized, disinfected, etc., etc. These words have become the new normal. People will want to, we are more of a socialist and a country which is more collective in nature, and we are going to go against our nature also. We are going to become more individualistic. And because we'll become more individualistic, there could be a lot of challenges. There could be a lot of behavioral issues that we might end up facing. So let's understand that these things are going to be there, and when these things are going to be there, it will give us new scope and opportunity for negotiation. Number one, rather more importantly, guys, as business people, we will have to find ways to mitigate and manage our current business so that we can mitigate and manage our losses as well. Just to give you an example, we had one student who approached me and he said, sir, we are in the business of chemical and there is about 5 to 7 crore of chemical lying in our godown. And since lockdown, it has been stuck there. What to do? Please help. Obviously, I'm not a chemical engineer or a chemist by any chance, so I would not know. But I asked him, Beta, can you add some additive to it so that you can make it used for some other purpose? Can you ask the supplier to take it back? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you? So I asked a lot of questions. After 2-3 days, he replies me and he says, sir, I have added one chemical with one additive to that chemical, which has enhanced the life of this chemical for another 2 weeks. I said, another 2 months. I said, has it changed the chemical property? Sir, it has not changed the chemical property, but at least from the 7 crore loss, we have minimized our loss because the complete chemical is not going to become useless. We'll utilize the material in any case. Makes sense. There's another case study. A restaurant in Thane gets shut down just because of the lockdown. That's perfect. Everything's going in the same direction. What to do? That day night, all his employees, they were all from outside people only, none of them from Bombay or from Maharashtra also. They wanted to go away. This guy tells them, the employee tells them, Arey, please wait, yaar. Just wait for one night. Go away tomorrow morning, at least give us some time to think. The owner says that. And he said, okay. That night, everybody had some food, everybody had something because it's the restaurant that they're running. So they had the food and slept. Next day morning, this guy's wife says, on the 4th floor, there is a lady and she wants some atta, some flour basically. And can you provide some wheat flour? And he said, yeah, we have a restaurant only. So we already have it in pure 100 kgs. Forget about 1, 2. I will provide it. And the moment he said that we will provide, something struck to him. And he said, oh, wow. I think we can definitely get into this type of a business. And what they did is they asked all their employees, guys, because you stayed back, now we've got some work also. From the 100 kg bag, 500 kg bag, start making 1 kg small bags. And we will start supplying to people across the building, across this. And everybody needs grocery and we are running a restaurant. We already have the grocery by ourselves. Now imagine the whole thing, guys, that a business that was eventually going to be completely locked down and shut down because of this has now got into something else as an opportunity. And you'll be surprised, this boy, his son is telling that it is better to run the grocery business than the restaurant. In restaurant, we have to cook the food and give. This is actually give the raw and they will cook it the way they want to. It's a better business. No surprises in case another 5 months later, you find them big in grocery business also. Guys, we have to understand that whenever we talk about negotiating with somebody or even managing the business, guys, we have to look at potential risk involved. And in negotiation, the person who has a higher risk in the current times is going to be the person who loses. So in the current times, the most important thing to evaluate for negotiation is understand your position of risk. One of our student is into real estate business and has given a lot of property on rent. Out of those property, on only 1 or 2 properties supposed to pay the EMI, rest property is free. But he's collecting rent from all the parties. So he's coming and telling me, sir, for the 2 properties that I have taken for the EMI, I am going to take moratorium. And I said, why are you going to take moratorium? You already have money. And he said, sir, think about it. Because I will take moratorium, I will be having cash with me, holding with me right now. And after the lockdown period, if it opens, and when it opens, if there is some good property that I come across, I will take that money and go and buy that property. As far as the money is concerned, the rent is going to come in any case, so I will manage it. Then I asked the question, what if the rent does not come? And he said, sir, that is also a possibility. You're right. That there is a possibility that rent may also not come. But so far, we have not come across a situation like that. One or two people had written, we have negotiated. I said, what did you negotiate? And there's an interesting example. He said, sir, very simple negotiation it was. They are using a part of my building as their go down sort of thing. Now their go down needs special fumigation, special storage system, etc. that we are providing in any case. In the similar vicinity, they don't have any other option only. So if they break away from me, there are two other companies in the same business who want to come and set up. So 110%, there is no scope that this guy is going to go. Like that, he has found out what is the risk propensity or the risk capacity of the other person, and that is how he's managing it. Guys, one thing has to be clear, that you need to know your position of risk. You need to know the exposure that you are going to take or get because of this decision. Say, for example, in case your exposure to a particular industry or particular expense is going to be high, you will have to bear that, otherwise not. One of my students is based in Ludhiana, and he has a power industry. And he has written an email, not email actually, a proper letter to the power department, that we are consuming so much kVA power, and I request you to please waive off the fixed charges of the power for the month of April and May. In case we run, we are going to pay the variable charges, but fixed power charges you please waive off. They have written a reply, we cannot waive off. Okay, no problem. What this boy has done is, he said, sir, can I come and meet? So he has went and met the senior divisional officer. He explained to him, sir, you know how much power bill do we pay? You know how much power we consume? You know what is the quantum of power we consume? So if you're going to give this, is there any harm? Why don't we talk to the higher up? Why don't we get the senior person involved, etc.? Guys, you'll be surprised. A no has now become a point of negotiation, and they are now discussing the possibility whether this guy can be given this permission to cancel it or not. Reduce the fixed charges or not. Guys, then let's understand what's happening. Whenever we are coming into a business scenario, there are two things that definitely come. Number one, that we always are exposed to some level of risk, but the person who has higher risk has normal chance of losing on a negotiation. So please understand and weigh your entire business. Weigh, W-E-I-G-H, weigh, vajan karo, weigh karo apne business ko. Okay, sorry, I a little bit used Hindi, but then I wanted to communicate this way, that would. I'll give you one example. You know what? Make a list of the expenses that you have incurred in the previous year, and then escalate it by say 10, 12, 15, 20% for this year. Just like that. Just like that. Copy paste. This last year was 1 lakh, this year 1,12,000, 1,15,000, whatever it is, just plot it. And then on the top row, write down the expected turnover that you are going to get this year. This is not a credit turnover. This has to be your income. Matlab, money coming in. Write that. Say for example, last year it was 2 crores. This year you might think that because of this condition, you are going to reduce it by say 40%. So 2 crore minus 40%, 60%. So it's about 1 crore 20 lakhs. Write it. Write it up there. At the bottom, you will realize that, okay, out of this entire 1 year, the balance amount that you are left is only this much, or perhaps no money left. That gives you a very, very, very important opportunity. A very important lesson. Opportunity is a very important lesson. And that lesson is that you will come to know that how many expenses are 100% doable, how many expenses are avoidable. And guys, very important point. Everybody just please make a note. Look at me guys, make a note that identify those expenses which you can convert from fixed expense to semi-variable expense. Understand the words. semi-variable. It's not completely variable. For example, it's rent and you're going to pay every month, say 30,000 rupees. 12 months, 3,60,000 rupees. Can you go to that landlord and say, boss, this is our rental property, this is it, this is it. Can you please make it 15,000 or 20,000 fixed and the remaining 10,000, can you please make it variable for some time? I said, why? Sir, understand the condition. Everybody is cash strapped. Everybody is conserving money. Everybody is holding the money. Everybody doesn't want to release the money. So it makes sense to hold it. Sir, please, sir, I request you. And that is how you can actually begin with. So that will make it very easy for you to identify that whether which expenses are compulsory to be done or not done, which expenses can be managed or not. And that will give you a position of whether you are on a risky state or not on a risky state. If you're on a risky state, 100% guys, you are not on a winning wicket. And in case you're not on a winning wicket, that is going to be a challenge. Trust me guys, that is going to be a challenge. I am not saying we are 100% going to be hurt and this and that, but let's understand guys, in the current scenario, it's actually a rough patch. And whenever a businessman or any business comes out of this rough patch, we are going to be slightly injured. Everybody is going to take a little injury. What I mean by injury is little loss. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But everybody is going to take that. So we have to make sure that we minimize that loss. And in order to do that, as I said, first element to understand is risk. Who is on the more risky side? So in case your stakes are high, fair enough. In other words, your risk is high, fair enough, you're going to be a loser. In case if the other person's risk is high, then that person may have a chance to lose. So please make sure that you understand risk as an important parameter. Very, very important. Okay. My point number 2 in negotiation. Find out the ways by which you can use your current resource in any other manner, in alternative manner. In negotiation, we have a concept called power of alternatives. So once I give you that example of the chemical guy, I give you the example of the Thane restaurant. I want to give you one more example. So one of our students is in the business of firefighting equipments. Now, when he is making the firefighting equipments and right now all the projects are standstill, everything is stuck, no movement happening. So in fact, he is actually stuck, no production happening. Then he thinks what to do. So he's one of the employees says, sir, remember when we had gone to that project, you had identified a one particular type of a plastic which does not catch fire or which does not have what you can say resistance to germs and this and that. And he said, the fire is not the concern. The concern is the germs. And he said, yeah, I remember that. Guys, long story short, using current resources, using some outside resources, he has tried to create temporary, movable, yani mobile sanitized rooms. Create temporary mobile sanitized rooms given to Gujarat government. He has given to some lot of other government. For all those things, say for example, there is a stadium and you're wanting to set up something in the stadium like a quarantine zone. Okay, 500, 600 beds. You can't have two patients lying next to each other. So what is done is created something as a closure. So there is a spacing between two people. There's a barrier. So there's no germs getting transferred, no bacteria, no virus getting transferred. So in case I have a little less infection, the other person has more infection, he will not infect me. Other way around as well true. Question. He has utilized his resources in a manner which has alternative uses. And those alternative uses is helping him to leverage his competence, capability, which is helping him to negotiate better. Today, he is talking to big companies to supply that. His father is also very happy. He is happy. He said, sir, these were idle resources which we could utilize. Think about it. Think about it, guys. Think about alternative uses of your resources that is available to you. And if you can find an alternative use, then you are on a good wicket of your negotiation. You're on a good side of the negotiation. In case you have no other use, that's the only option left. If you are the only option left with you guys, then you are not on the good side of the negotiation. But anyways, that's up to you to decide, or rather identify, not decide actually, identify that which side you are, okay? There is one person who is based in Jalna, and he is in the business of tea, okay? He's our student also. He told me that because his product is a part of the essential commodity, because it is food grade, he has supplied to the entire market. So what he has done is he has a team of people, and everybody is dressed with proper clothing, proper protective gears, and then he's sending trucks and trucks of material across the country and all that. In this scenario, he's able to pay. Remember the words, huh? Guys, listen. Is able to pay 200 rupees per day to employees to buy. Not able to pay, he's able to spend. I think that word is, he's able to spend 200 rupees per day per employee towards their daily groceries, whatever they need. Imagine the condition of competition that he has created. Anybody who is wanting to negotiate with him will always be on the weaker side. This guy will be on the stronger side. Why? Because in this time also he's doing business, number one. Number two, he's doing good business. And number three, he's got his employees on his side. Entire game, he is actually now controlling that market. The lesson to learn is, guys, that to negotiate with somebody, we must identify that whether our position is that of a headstrong competitive, or is it like a losing side. Headstrong competitive means a person who has sufficient number of alternatives. So say for example, you have a business in which your salespeople have to go and travel a lot. But say for example, you start doing a lot of meetings on Zoom or other platforms wherein the traveling is avoided, but the business has started rolling. You have started creating or generating revenue for yourself. Your competitor who's perhaps not done that, you are having a stronger edge over that person. So your raw material vendor is also going to be strongly bounded to you. And that is the lesson. Your strong raw material provider is also strongly bounded to you, which the other person may not get that advantage. Think about it, guys. The power of alternative works magic. There is a company called Easy Diner. Easy Diner has come up with a brilliant plan. They call #SaveTheIndustry. What are they doing in that? Your favorite restaurant, take their voucher today. Pay during the lockdown period. When you are paying during the lockdown period, you have a right to use this voucher till December 2020. So till the 31st December. In case by chance you don't use it, then they will going to refund that voucher also. But in case you use it, fair enough. In that process, what they have done is they have right now itself accumulated money. So their cash flow has increased, which is technically an interest-free cash flow. So you have paid them advance, or you have bought a voucher with a refundable voucher. Something that you have a refundable ticket on airlines is a refundable voucher. But this person has created a stronger competing position. This website called Shaadi.com. They said that if you open your account on Shaadi.com during the lockdown period, it is for free. Is it for free? Guys, right now, all the family members are at home. Everybody is at home. They have time. What they have done is when you're given them a chance to open free, they're going to do with greater caution, have more accounts probably. Some people might take it too lightly and open more number of accounts. In other words, what they have done is they have expanded their market base to get even the free customers who are there. And that is a very smart business strategy. Think about it, guys. He has increased their number of options so many that after lockdown, assume that before lockdown, they had about 1 lakh members. I'm just giving hypothetical numbers. Maybe post lockdown, he's got 1,20,000. 20% increase in number of people. Okay. And of that, say 2, 3, 4,000 were junk, at least still 17%, 17,000 people. Good. That's a good thing. During the lockdown, you got so many new registrations. business sense. So that's my second postulate. The first one is the risk and the second is the power of alternative. And my third and final point on how you can increase your negotiation power in the current times. You know, guys, this is slightly tricky. Try and know what is the status or the position of your opponent. Try and know the status, the position of your opponent. And you might think opponent here refers to supplier or customer. That doesn't matter what the word opponent. But guys, understand this, that if your supplier is finding or is in a little trouble, can you help the supplier? And if you can do that, trust me guys, your negotiation in the long run is doing amazingly in your favor. If your customer is in little trouble and you stand by the customer, trust me guys, your negotiation in the long run is going to be tremendously in your favor. The only thing is you have to make sure that you know what's their current status, current scenario, current position. Okay, if you know that, trust me, you are on the track. For example, if you know that that customer of yours is actually struggling for a lot of material and you come to know about that, you know that cash trap, you know that there is a critical condition in terms of the proceeds that can come, call him. Tell him, bro, you have difficulty. मैं बैठा हूँ, मैं तेरे साथ हूँ. I am with you. What material you want? This, okay, I can supply. When will you be able to make payment? He said, not soon. I know you also know that that's not going to be soon. That's fine. Absolutely fine. No problem. As of right now, they cannot pay. That's okay. Maybe little later. If that person is a little good with you in relationship, then there is a possibility that you might end up getting some part of the earlier proceeds or earlier pending money also. Guys, understand, karo. Negotiation is not transactional. It's transgenerational. There is a guy in Andheri, and very interesting case study. You might be interested to even get connected with him. There's a guy in Andheri, and he told me that Samish bhai, this lockdown period of 21 plus whatever number of extended days has been my best business days. I said, how come? I said, I know a party, a vendor from Ukraine about 20 years back. Since then, we've had good relation, but no big business. When I used to go there or he used to come, we used to spend time together, chai pite, daru pite, but we're good connected people. Fair enough. In the current scenario, he got a order from some government order and he was able to process that order to me. I could manage the products for him and I could manage to send the product also to him. I got a fantabulous commission to think about. When he got this deal, he said, bro, thank you very much. I got this deal because of you. He said, don't get satisfied. We got more coming in. And guys, he made his lifetime business in these 21 days. Now the question is, how could he do that? Because number one, he studied the other person. And second, because his relationship was 100% transgenerational, not transactional. Not one day was the focus. It was a long-term focus. So today when I'm talking with you or today when I'm talking to Kumar Sahib, it's not limited to Kumar Sahib and me for today's event. It has to be for long term. And if it is for long term, then I and Kumar Sahib after another 5 years also can talk like this. But tomorrow, in case he tells me, Samish bhai, we need some faculty, can you please help me? Okay, that's my duty to help him. Why? Because that is the way I know that, okay, if he's in some trouble, some difficulty, why not help? The same way Kumar Sahib helps me. It's both ways mutual. But this is where you understand the long term of it. So know the position of your supplier and your customer. And if you know the position of both and you know that when, and see guys, it's not that because of you, you have to, so you hold the product and make the other person squeeze, that is wrong business practice. Yeah, that is for sure wrong business practice. You are deliberately holding back. And then you are not supplying to the person and saying, oh, there is a shortage. That is a stupidity. Because here you are compromising your relationship over greed. What I am saying is a very different thing. I'm talking about pure relationship. So Call the other person. He is normally buying, say for example, he is a notebook manufacturer, normally buying paper from A, B and C company. You call that person and say, bro, how are things going on? Bolta hai, A, B and C, all the three are screwed. They are not able to give me very bad condition. Kya karu, maal nahi aa raha. I cannot make, I have got a huge export order. I have to service it by the month of July. I was actually going to make this, etc., etc., etc. You tell him, bro, relax. Relax. I know a guy, you might have to pay a little more because you're getting that material right from Bombay, but I'll try and manage it. Don't worry. As soon as lockdown opens, I'll make sure that this happens for you. But I'll still make sure the transaction is closed right now so that you are also cushioned that, okay, things will come in your favor. Do that, guys. Do that. And you will realize that it's an amazing, amazing power. One of our students is in the business of spectacles. And now he says, sir, every day somebody is going to wear and somebody is going to remove. Somebody is going to wear and somebody is going to remove. Everybody has different hands touched anywhere. So it is going to be difficult for me to sanitize each and every frame after everyone has used. So it's going to be a very long process. I will be adding unnecessary cost, etc. One of my another participant was hearing, he said, very simple. Take your glasses. I'll create a UV cabinet for you. Put it in the UV cabinet and it is done. And he said, does UV cabinet cure all the viruses, etc.? He said, we create UV cabinet for operation theaters in hospitals. I supply to hospitals. If it can do for operation theater, tera to only chashma hai. I mean, it's simple. It's only spectacles. In there, they require much higher purity level. It's only spectacles, bro. I can give you this and you'll be all good with it. Maintenance very less, very cheap. Not a problem. It's just that don't hit the UV rays with your naked eyes. And he said, I'm going to give a closed compartment. Just put it in, put on the light. Absolutely okay. So think how this guy gave the recommendation to him. He found the other person to be in stress, in trouble, in problem. So he gave an answer. And that is where you're going to learn that when you find your customer or supplier in any type of stress, trouble, anything, stand by them. Convert or identify your relationship power and use your relationship with the other person to make sure that negotiation is in your favor, is in your side. You appreciate it. Because it's very simple, guys. If you negotiate and if you're negotiating from the point of strength, then it's going to come in your favor. If you're going to negotiate from the point of weakness, it's not going to come in your favor. Okay? Yes. You will be weak in certain areas, and therefore I told you that we are not going to immune from this thing. I mean, many people come and tell me that, Samish bhai, are we going to be immune? Mere ko kuch hoega hi nahi. Nah, stupid. 100% you will be affected. Everybody is going to be affected. Little or more, everybody is going to be affected. The reason to negotiate at these times is to make sure that that effect is least or less. That's it. That's it. You know, I had a mentor. And this mentor sent me an email. Not email, actually a WhatsApp video. And the video shows something. It's about 4.5 minutes. And then he calls me. Samish bhai, did you see the video? I said, yeah, I saw the video. You now know what's going to happen? I said, no, I don't know. Still don't know what's going to happen. He said, we are going to be finished. The whole world is going to do this, that, etc. I'm going to say, you are meant to saying that we are going to go for doomsday. Yeah, no, but Samish bhai, see. I said, Sahib, look at yourself here. Your daughter-in-law is pregnant. You have a life coming in your own family. How can you even think about that we are heading for a doomsday? Or we are heading for going to be positive. It's going to be good. The current thing that's happened, guys, is a temporary phase. It's a speed breaker. It's a small blip. It's a small hurdle. We used to play the hurdle race in school. Just jump over it. But while jumping, one of our leg touches anything, we get hurt. Correct? So we're going to get hurt. We're going to get injured. But this is not doomsday. We're not going to be finished. Rather, if we tend to negotiate as if it's not going to be any beneficial to, or it's not going to be, what do you say, as if it's going to be a big loss forever. So let us try and minimize the loss. That's going to be a big loss, guys. Rather, understand the market scenario. See the other person, whether they need or don't need. If they need, to what extent they need, why they need, is he going to pay you spot, later, etc. Decide. But if that person is in strong relationship with you, then this supersedes. My earlier thing supersedes. Earlier I told you that if the person is in strong relationship with you, boss, I'm standing by you. But if it is a fresh person who has come to you, then it is your prerogative to decide whether you want to give that material to that person, yes or no. If not now, later. If later, how much material. You have an entire edge over the other person. So guys, understand things. That negotiating in the current times, have to keep a couple of things in mind. Number one, the risk. If you're on the risky side, you're going to be a loser, but that's a fact. If you're not on the risky side, then you're not going to be that big a loser, but you will still get hit a little bit. Okay. In order to understand the risk, it's better you understand your financials. So just understand that if there is any expense which you can convert, or if you can mitigate, or if you can avoid, do that, it's going to be good. So that's my point number one. Point number two, equally important as much as point number one, and that is that please try and make sure that you know the power of alternatives. So if not this, what else? If not here, which other market? If not this product, which other product? If not this customer, which other customer? Think about it, the power of alternatives. And if you can do that, it's going to be good for you. Because the moment you have more alternatives for your existing product or a service, trust me guys, your entire negotiating power will change. For example, today, some company who's running a online platform like this, they can come and say, I will charge 10,000 rupees for 1 hour. Okay, but there are another 5 companies automatically in the market, 10,000 doesn't exist. It just reduces. Zoom. Why? Because there are other alternatives. If there was only one, very premium. If it's only many alternatives and perhaps almost the same alternatives, almost the same, then comes the question of brand and this and that. Otherwise, it's more or less the same. So power of alternatives. And then the third point that I wanted to stress is about the relationship. Talk to your customer, talk to your suppliers. If they're in need, if they're in concern, if they have something that they want, please make sure that you address that. Please make sure you appreciate that. Please make sure that you give it to them. Make sure that you provide to them. And if you can do that, it will be a wonderful thing. Just make sure that your relations are not limited to a transaction, but it's open to transgenerational. And if you can do that, trust me guys, it's a great time to be. And finally, I mentioned that we are not heading for a doomsday. We are not heading for something finished. You know guys, I always, Kumar sir, just 1 minute please, let me complete. Okay, then I'll give you the chance to Q&A. You know guys, in the current times, many people tell me that Samish bhai, what do you think about the country's future and this and that? And I tell them very simple one line. You know, it's not about the country future, this. It's about the people. And somehow, you know, I trust the 130 crore ka population. I trust that 130 crore ka population. I'll tell you how I trust. You know, guys, in the Western world, there is perhaps no mentality to save. And so therefore, for them, if there is a lockdown, they don't know how to manage their finances. Many people don't even have a kitchen at home because they are just singles, staying all by themselves. They go to work, evening they eat something, drink something, come home, have something, and then perhaps go to sleep. Next day morning, it's the same routine. We have kitchens at home, we cook, and we have savings. Guys, I can bet on one thing. Perhaps there is a chance of losing also on this, but I'm still trying to bet on that. That if you take an average Indian, that person would have at least saving of 2 to 3 months of whatever standard of living that person has. So say for example, if a person has a standard of living of 4,000 rupees, that person might have another 8 or 12,000 rupees somewhere parked as savings. If there's a person with 40,000, it could be 80,000 to 1,20,000. If that person is 4 lakh, it could be 8 lakh to 1 lakh, 8 lakh to 12 lakhs. But this capability of saving, this capability of doing things, this capability of keeping the resources with ourselves, And this capability of having the money with us is able to help us survive in rough times. So we'll be able to inject the money back. We'll be able to get into the market much quicker. There could be a V curve, there could be a W curve. I don't know. No. But I am sure for one thing that this 130 crore people is the source wherein we'll be able to bounce back. And we'll be able to bounce back. Yes, we will be injured, we will be hurt, we will have a problem. That's a reality. But it's not heading for a doomsday. It's going to go for a good revival. For the younger ones, it's going to be a start. And for people, or many people like us, after a small, what you can say, speed breaker, a small slowdown. But for the other ones, the younger ones, it's going to be a fresh start, up and up there. Okay. With those words, guys, I am thankful to Kumar sir for this wonderful session. I wish you all the best. Have a great time in life, guys. And I'm sure that if we cross road at some point of time, we will definitely get in touch with each other. And if I am in Kerala, I mean, it could be Cochin or wherever, the moment airlines open and we get the chance to travel, we'll make sure that we meet. So Kumar Sahib, over to you, sir. Nirmal Bhai, thank you very much for very nice arrangement and a wonderful setup on the Thai front. So I wish all the participants all the best and have a great time in future, guys. It's great time for all of us. Be prepared, get ready. There's something better waiting for all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Samesh Bhai. It has been very reassuring because we hear also a lot of doomsday prediction. You told it rightly that this is a passing phase, and I tend to agree. I am also a very strong proponent that India will bounce back more strongly after the dust settles down. There are many questions which has come up. I don't know whether we'll be able to take all the questions. There are things from Tarun Kohli who posted it even before you started talking. So his first question is, what are the key aspects during negotiation, including among family members of different generations with different expectations in the current times? So he's talking about COVID times and among family members of family business of different generations. How do we handle that? Samesh Bhai.
Yeah, I am actually reading to all the three questions because they're all for Tarun Kohli only. So yeah. I'm reading that. Okay. So in the first place, what are the key aspects during negotiation, including among the family members of different expectation current times? Tarunji, let's understand two things. In the first place, don't negotiate in a family. In a family, don't negotiate. Rather, in family, it's better. Point number two. In family, we have to have two fundamentals. I have taken this session with the Thai program also in the pyramid model of understanding and appreciating. Kumar Sahib will recall that. We had done that at the Thai LAP. Tarunji, it is very important that everybody learns to appreciate each other's point of view. Whether right or wrong, that is not the debate at all. So whether I am wearing a white shirt and is it a good day to wear a white shirt or not, that's not the debate. Appreciate that why you're wearing a white shirt. It looks nice on you. Simple. So in a family, rather than negotiating, it has to be more of a discussion, wherein the other person's point of view is understood and then appreciated. So you might think that what I'm talking is theory. So let me give 2-3 examples. But if I start doing that, what will happen is that we might not end up getting time for the other questions. But your question itself requires that elaboration. So I'll just give one example. One of our students, a Gujarati family, Jain family, based here in Ghatkopar. Now, there are two brothers, and each brother has 2 children. The elder brother has 2 sons, the younger one has 2 daughters. The elder brother started the business and is doing very good. His younger brother joined him and they both were like growing on a next level. Elder brother's 2 sons, they also joined and they also doing very good. Now younger brother's two daughter. So he was not interested to continue, and the daughters also got married and went away. So now he's not interested. Now when the business expansion turn comes, they were looking at investing about 7 to 8 CR in some project. That is the stage where the younger brother told the elder brother, "Boss, I don't interested in investing. Ne? You are now whatever doing only for your sons. My daughters are gone. My second generation is not there. What will I do? Now I am also aged. I don't want the money also. Whatever I have is sufficient. So better you don't move for expansion. In case you want to go for expansion, do it on your own. I will not get involved in it." Now the question is, if a family business of that small size decides to pay off part of the fund from their own money to one of the brothers, so the entire money is going away in that direction, which is paying off the other person. The other option is get him excited to be a part of it. So the elder one is my student. That elder brother's first son is my student. So I said, "Okay, beta, why don't you go and talk to him? Get him involved in the family conversation." He said, "No, but sir, he's not ready to talk." I said, "He's not your enemy, yaar. He's your uncle only. Ek baar baat karo, just talk." I said, "Okay." So after 2-3 repeated requests, this guy said, "Okay, I'll come and talk to you for about 15 minutes. He said, "I'll come to office only." "Okay, Chacha, wherever you want to come, please come, but come." He came to the office and he said, "You know, Chacha, in 1992, when you both started the business, our capital was only 8,000 rupees. And today we are ready for investment of 8 crore without bank borrowing. Imagine what you have helped us to build." Number one. Number two, Papa was always handling finance and operations. You were the one who was handling marketing. So any business grows only because of marketing only. So you helped us take us the business there. Now I want you to mentor me directly so that I can make this 8 crore, 80 crore after another 15 years so that we can go for the third round of expansion. And you will always be there in the business. Whatever happens, you will always be there. And both my sister will remain as passive shareholder in the business. The benefit will be passed on to them, etc., etc. And they had a conversation. Tarunji, you'll be surprised. At the end of the conversation, the Chacha and the Bhatija both cried. The father was so emotional. And now, long story short, of 7 years now, 7 years, the father tells me, "Samesh bhai, I am useless in the business." I said, "Why?" "The Chacha Bhatija are doing most of the businesses. I am doing nothing now." Now the lesson here. When there are two different generations, each generation has their own perspective of doing things, appreciating things. They did something because they thought at that point of time was correct. It is important that the younger generation learns that, knows that okay, this is the reason why you took this decision. So appreciate that, because at that time that was right. And then perhaps if they ask, guy, tell them, "Dad, Chacha, Dada, whatever it is, I'm looking for this expansion and I'm looking for this initiative. If it is possible, let's do it. If not, fine." So this is how we have to make sure we do it. So that is the idea. Kumar Sahib, if I give more examples, then we will not be able to take others. But this is perhaps trying to address 2 or 3 of his questions.
Yeah, Tarun has asked many questions, Amish bhai, and most of the questions you have answered during your talk itself. So I'm just quickly running it through that, but let us move to somebody else. Yeah, Anil Kumar is asking what's the difference between transactional and transgenerational.
Superb question, Anil ji. Namaste. Very, very, very good question. Very, very good question. Appreciate for that question. Sir, transactional yani ke it's a typical mindset of this transaction. How much money am I going to make? Transgenerational means I have relation with Kumar Sahib. My son has relationship with his son. Transgenerational. Story over. It is not limited to one transaction. Ceramic cup, and Kumar Sahib is buying ceramic cup, and in 2 transactions we have lost or lost, but Kumar Sahib said, "ठीक है Samesh bhai, next time lost nahi lena. I will make sure कि we'll do a different pricing." Transactional and transgenerational means transgenerational is over a longer period of time, transaction is limited. In family business, the relationship should be transgenerational. I guess there is one more person in your group also, if I am correct, and I can see him. Kumar Sahib has invited him. I had thought also. So you have George Sahib also, I suppose, here. I can see the attendee list here. So I just saw George Sahib. Now his son is also in the business. So his son also continues relationship with all those franchisees or dealer distributor, that is transgenerational. But if it is only limited to one transaction or a couple of transactions, wherein profit is the only orientation, relationship has no value, that is transactional. Don't keep transactional relation, guys. It is better to have transgenerational. Anilji, I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, a very interesting question from a chartered accountant, Samish Bhai. Let me read it out. I am a CA and into accounting and tax outsourcing. We handle monthly accounting and tax compliances for our clients. Even though there will not be any transaction in April 2020, you have to file GST returns maybe nil for April 2020. So can be raised.
Amruta ji, this is the question, and the answer I can give is based on the earlier thing that I mentioned. If you think, yes, correct, Kumar sir, thank you. I think somebody said,
yeah, hello,
said this word. So if you want to bill, if you think you want, Amruta ji, if you think you want to bill to your client in spite of zero,
there is some problem with the line.
So this
there's a problem with the line, I think, Samish Bhai.
now is it clear now?
Now we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was telling is that Amruta ji, this is exactly what I was referring to in the earlier note. That transactional and transgenerational. If you feel that your relation with them is transactional and you want to raise the invoice, it's your decision. And if you show the grace by telling that because it was a bad month, because it was a period like this, and you're not going to raise the invoice, and if you think that goodwill will add a lot of value to your relationship, you can decide that way also. So the entire decision rests on you, but I personally am of the opinion that it is only and only about relationship. So if you feel that you want to consolidate your relationship and you want to go like that, that's fine. If you are wanting to go charge them, maybe it's your decision. But it's purely your decision based on these two parameters.
Yeah, I would just add, Amruta-ji, that look, you are a chartered accountant, so you know there is no revenue stream at all during the month of April. And if you are receiving an invoice from one of your outsourced agents without any revenue stream, how will you feel? So it's your judgment purely, but as Samish Bhai rightly mentioned, it has to be more transgenerational in terms of a long-term view of your client. There is one question from Edwin James. If you can have a look at it, I will just quickly read it out. What if other side believes in different standards of fairness while having a negotiation, but still hold and make a best alternative negotiated closure? Samish Bhai.
Hanji, I'm just reading through what other sides, different standard of fairness while having, correct, that you will come across. There will be some people, there will be certain standard of people who will not see the things the way you see, who will not appreciate the way you see. So maybe for them, the ethics, for them, the standard of doing business, for them, the parameter to do business might be different. For them, the orientation might be different. So for you, the orientation could be a long term. For them, the orientation could be short term. So in such cases, yes, they might not only explore on the alternatives, but they might, what you can say, ignore also at times the power of alternatives and then be just restricted to one state, one stand, one position. And in those cases, your negotiation may not turn out to be as expected. But yes, these type of people may exist. We will have to gauge the other person. Therefore, I mentioned in my earlier part of the speech that you have to identify with the supplier and with the customer and understand that what are the stakes involved, whether the relationship is more important or anything else is more important. If perhaps relationship becomes more important, then something else could be done. And the alternative could be seen through that.
You can take this question from Sudhakaran Nair. Negotiation with employees, please suggest as it is important. With employees.
Okay. It's not written here, but okay, I'll take it.
Is there? Sudhakaran Nair asked the question at 5:36 p.m. Negotiation with employees, please suggest as it is important.
As it is. Yes. Mr. Nair, very, very interesting thing. In the first place, yes, negotiation with employee is important. Number one. Number two, there are three categories of employees that I normally classify. Please look at this three categories. One, who is revenue generating. In other words, your marketing guy, your guy who gets business. Second, your operations person. And third, your workforce or labor or stuff like that. Okay. Now, your negotiation is going to be based on the rules and the criticality of these people. Role and criticality. Remember the word, role and criticality. If they are very, very critical and you know that it is going to be very important for the business, you will have to have a strong negotiation, but at the same time, you will have to learn to give away a lot. So that could be that. Second, in case you identify that that person is not that critical, but still the role that you have is important for that person, then your negotiation is going to be with that person. You might not give away too much, but you will not be holding back too much as well. You will have to release a little at least. Now come to the third. If you have contract type of a labor, then you have to make sure at least the contract labor or the main guy who gets those labor into the business, that person is taken care of very well. So tomorrow, if 20 people are there and 5 don't come, he manages another 5 people and makes sure your production is not hampered. That is one thing very clear. As far as the lowest level of labor is concerned, no, there's not a big thing into negotiation. They will be driven by policies, and that's better. Because if you get to negotiation, and as rightly earlier question mentioned, the fairness, they might not have the same vision or the understanding of the fairness as much as you have, then there could be a situation of clashes. So पहले अपन सुनते थे that union and management fought, union and management fought, union and management fought. Why? Because both of them had different standards of measurement. Both of them had different perspectives. Over a period of time, you see lesser and lesser such crises happening. Why? Because both of them now start understanding a similar perspective. So the fairness standards have now perhaps come closer. So that is the reason. Otherwise, at least identify A, B, and C. A, role and criticality. Then that person has to be negotiated and you have to perhaps give away more. B, critical, not role is there and not that critical, give away a little less. And in the third category, perhaps don't give away anything. It could be driven by a policy. This is it, done, that's it. So you will not negotiate with the darban of your, chowkidar of your building or your office, but you will definitely negotiate with the head sales guy. That's as simple as that.
Samish bhai, I think it must be one of our GOMP participants, Jojo George, is the last question there.
Ji, sir.
We also at times find buyers, long-standing buyers, who probably use the situation to delay payments.
Correct, Jojo, ekdam correct, Jojo. And I was talking the same thing with yesterday with one of our students also. That now what people will do is they will take the reason of Corona and say we don't have the money, so we'll make later payment. People will use now Corona as a reason. Earlier they used to have some other reason. Now they use Corona as a reason. People will find a reason to delay it. It is correct. But if you have the, what you can say, the word trust trust on that person that, okay, this is a good party, long-standing party, you and they connect very well. Then if this delaying, then also not a problem. If the credibility becomes a question, then you will have to use a little stronger aspect, little coercive approach to make sure that you extract the payment. Otherwise, if it is a long-standing and good relation, they will use this current time and they will call you like that. Arey, Jojo, you're so friendly, we're going to relation like this. Why don't you understand? We also cash trapped. We don't have money right now. Customer is not paying. So why don't you delay it? He themselves only push to us like that. Very normal. Very, very normal. In the current times, people will do this. One of our students yesterday was mentioning, he is into textile material. He said, sir, they are ready to give the material. So supplier has no problem, but customer doesn't want to release the payment. I said, that's always a problem.
So I think we have almost come to the end, and we also running short on time. But I would recommend one thing to Tarun Kohli, who has asked a lot of very valid questions. But Tarun, for your information, you will get an intimation from Thai Kerala. We are having more webinars on the family business during these challenging times. In fact, we have Professor Parimal Merchant addressing us, so that will be there. And then, of course, Dr. Professor Kavil Ramayandran from Indian School of Business, he also will be addressing us. So we have a series of family business webinars. So some of the questions what you have asked here, they are very relevant, Tarun, but wait for the intimation from Thai Secretariat, Nirmal Panikkar, to receive the details. Quickly summarizing, 3 points to be remembered. Risk profile, the higher the risk, your position is weaker, but I didn't want to ask that question. How do you change the risk profile from the one party, the opposing party and the negotiating party? Is something which we can leave it now. Power of alternative uses of your resources, very valid point. Then, of course, try and know position of your supplier customer, stand by your customer. And major learning for me, Samish Bhai, from transactional to transgenerational, I love it. Because many times we take very, very short-term positions in negotiations, saying that I always tell my clients, don't look at invoice-wise profits.
Yes.
You cultivate customers, you cultivate long-term relationships, which makes all the difference. So with this, I will, another point you mentioned is that there will be an impact and effect on everyone. Everybody is going to get injured. So it may be least or less is something which we have to be prepared. So I will now hand it over to Nirmal to go ahead with the rest of the formalities. Nirmal?
Thank you, Samish Bhai, for that very interesting talk. Before we conclude, we have Anisha Cherian, Charter Member of Thai Kerala and Vice President Designate. She will do the vote of thanks for us. Over to you, Anisha.
On behalf of Thai Kerala, I'd like to thank Professor Samish Dalal of SB Jain School of Global Management. I found this session absolutely exhilarating. It was very interesting because we've been listening to a lot of sessions, some of them extremely negative. So this was a very positive session. One thing that affected me or what struck me was, the point about understanding the position of risk, then identifying fixed expense and making it into a semi-variable expense. Also the use of, current resources to use for alternative uses. And again, as MSA said, the point about making relationships into transgenerational. So these were the points that have struck me. I once again thank you, Mr. Professor Samish, for this really positive session. Further on, I'd like to say that Thai Kerala is coming up with new sessions. We have another webinar that is coming up on how to do inside sales or virtual sales. That is doing sales through digital, email, phone. It is on Thursday, April 23rd, 4 p.m. by Shaju Thomas of Freshworks. So Thai Kerala would definitely like to see all of you all again participating in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Samish Bhai.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Samish Bhai.
Right, sir. Kumar Sahib, it was wonderful. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, lots of appreciation you can see in the chat box. I saw one name, Rashmi Bansal. I hope Rashmi Bansal, the same Rashmi, who's an author, Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish, the author of that book. I'm not very sure. But name is same, Rashmi Bansal. So a lot of appreciation from the participants, Samesh Bhai. As usual, it's been great having you. Thank you.
Thank you.